Last week was Greenbelt's first ever pulpit swap that they can remember. And so do I do the very second thing in the worship guide. I changed it. I didn't change much. We sang Sanctuary, and I taught them another verse. Things change on us. Sometimes they change in ways that we can embrace easily, and other times they change in ways that we struggle with and will continue to struggle with. The second scripture reading for this morning comes to us from the 18th chapter of the Gospel of Luke, the first 8 verses. Then Jesus told them a parable about their need to pray always and to not lose heart. He said, "In a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor had respect for people. In that city there was a widow who kept coming to him saying, 'Grant me justice against my opponent.' For a while, he refused. But later he said to himself, 'Though I have no fear of God and no respect for anyone, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will grant her justice, so that she may not wear me out by continually coming.' And the Lord said, 'Listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God grant justice to the chosen ones who cry out day and night? Will God delay long in helping them? I tell you, God will quickly grant justice to them. And yet when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?'" Things change sometimes. And I will be honest, I preached a funeral already this morning. I don't know if I have it in me to do another one. So I want to share my initial thoughts, the text that we just heard, as I first sat with it early in the week. The initial things that were going through my mind as I was happily typing away. He, the judge, is afraid of neither God nor humans, but he becomes afraid of her because of her persistent demands for justice and righteousness. She is not deterred by apparent inaction or degrading words. She is hell-bent on the things of God, the promises and expectations of the realm come near. I sat with that. I still sit with it. I'm sitting right now. It's not very comfortable sitting on the steps, by the way. That's where I'm at. Let me share it again. Where I was. He, the judge, the official who sits at the gates, is neither afraid nor fearful nor respectful of God nor human beings, but he becomes concerned, afraid, fearful of the widow and her persistence. The woman who represents all of marginalized society. He becomes concerned with her demands for justice and righteousness. She is not deterred because of inaction and degrading words. She is realm bent on the things of God, the promises and the expectations of the realm that has come near. That stirred in my soul, that little set of framing thoughts stirred in my soul, and I sat with it. And I want to set it aside. I'm going to set it aside because the visions and the voices, I gotta stand out, this is not going to work. The visions and the voices of the past week, the things that have gone on in our lives, we're not just sitting with the text anymore. Right? Not just sitting with that text anymore, with the commentaries and all of the things that go with it. There's a great meme out there. It's an image of an iceberg, and a little bit above water says the sermon, and the big part of me says sermon prep. It's true for just about anything we do, right? We were blessed with a beautiful bit of music, and that was not the prep that went into it. And so the focus has changed. It's changed because the call that Jesus begins the parable with for persistent prayer, especially prayers for justice, for righteousness, and for mercy to roll down, something that would flow richly, immerse us all. That word, sorry. In our current setting, in this day, in this midst, I'm now in a place where I'm questioning mercy. I'm in a place where I'm questioning justice, and I'm questioning the righteousness of God and the good world that has been created. I'm wrestling with those things because the foundation that I stood upon was rattled. It is rattled. And I am not one who deals well with being off balance. That's why I'm not allowed to dance. I'm not allowed on roller skates, skateboards, scooters, most bicycles. I don't deal well when the foundation has been shaken. And yet that is exactly where I am. I am in that place where I'm questioning. I am in the place where I envision the widow being. Why is this not working out? Why is this coming undone in the way that it has come done? Why is this week unfolding in the way that it has unfolded? And the bigger struggle for someone like me, whose calling, whose vocation, I only work on Sundays, by the way, is so bent around the idea of words. And yet, this week, there are no words. There are no words. And for a person and a society and a broader creation that is grounded in word, little w, and word, big W, it is all the more soul-troubling to suddenly be at a loss for words. I want to say the thing to fix it, to make it right, or at least to make it better. And yet there are not the words to do that. Spirit, intercede. Intercede because the words are faltering. Spirit, intercede. With those sighs that are too deep for words, for those guttural moments when at best we can offer is a sob or a groan or a cry or some sort of primal scream when we look around and see the injustice and the unrighteousness and the lack of mercy that is going on. that we might offer a life-giving drink to our siblings who are in pain. And so I question. In my unsteady state of being, I question. As I drop the bucket in the well and look for something meaningful to come up, I question. I wonder what is going on. And there's room enough to question, by the way. It's healthy to question. There is space for the wrestling. There is room for the widow and the judge to figure this thing out, to work on it, to try to bring it into some sense that we can grasp in some way. There's space enough for us to deal with the questions. No, not deal with the questions, to ask the questions. Why God, among so many others, as the foundation that I stand upon rocks all the more? Why God? And there is space enough to ask for those that have gone on to the rest in God, and for those of us who are left behind amid these deep questions. Why? These word-defying questions when all we can do is just make a noise to indicate where we are at. Whether it is the immediacy of a family that is grieving, whether it is looking at issues of injustice and unrighteousness that are beyond this immediate community of faith as we look at news or avoid it like the plague. It's actually not bad to turn off the news every once in a while. There's room to ask the questions why, because they keep circling. They keep circling in my heart and in my mind, and they keep troubling me as I'm off balance here. And then the widow. Because even though I've moved away from the text, she is still there. I'm still sitting with her, and she kept at it. She persisted in it, right? She faced all of these same sorts of things, or different things altogether, things that I can't even hope to imagine or don't want to imagine. Oh God. And she persisted. She shouldered the sky. She called out to God with voice and sighs too deep for words, and she sought some sense of justice and righteousness and mercy. I believe she was a little upset. I believe she was angry. I believe she might even be apoplectic, spitting mad. That projectile that comes out when we can't even say the words right, because we are just so overwhelmed with what is going on. Yes, I think she might have been there. I know I certainly have been there. And in that place of deepest anger, it becomes focused on something or someone, and we believe that there is something or someone to be angry at. You can't be angry at something if you don't believe in it. If it doesn't exist, you can't focus your anger. Anger is a relationship. If the object doesn't exist, you can't be angry with it. So if I am truly, deeply, troublingly angry at something, then it must be there. There must be a machine to receive my rage. There must be something that I can rail against, some unjust human or group of humans. We tend to travel in packs. There must be an institution or group of institutions that I am just so utterly angry with. I might be angry at the realm that has not yet fully broken in. Why, God, is there so much injustice and unrighteousness and such a lack of mercy in the world? I might be angry with God. I believe God can handle that, by the way. It's hard to be angry with God if you don't believe God exists. The Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, speak of the mustard seed, the kernel, that smallest, that little nick, that crack, that niche, that air gap in the window that the great stuff just won't seal. That's what it takes. The Gospels say. That little bit. I believe there is something beyond us, right? There is God. I believe and proclaim God. I have this little tiny niche, and I am focusing my anger in that place because I expected better. I expected more. I expected something of the realm. And just like the widow, keep harping on it. That little niche. That little tiny gap, and what I might not appreciate in the moment until I hear a call to worship that stirs my soul, until I get a song that gets me to stand up, until somebody else engages in prayer that lifts me up, until I get into a space in the community surrounds me. What I might not be realizing until those moments is that niche that I'm so angry at, because that is the representation of God, is also that very thing that hope itself is going to come through. Hope. That there is indeed something more loving, more just, and more merciful, more righteous out there in the world. That little niche, little seed, that little tiny thing that in all of my great shaking and rocking back and forth, I focused all of that anger on. And God being God, slowly through that same niche has worked people, places, things, words and tunes and moments into life. And these are the things of faith. If the widow did not believe even a mote, she would have just chalked it up. But these things are the part of faith. Even when the connection between what I believe in myself, even when that gap between us seems unimaginably large, that niche is there. The persistence of God in our lives, the one that at times I seek to avoid, the one that I occasionally try to hide from. I try to hide from God actually fairly often. I'm sure if we're honest, we do it. Eastern North Carolina seemed like a good place. No, not so much. Virginia Beach isn't turning out well either. The hiding from God thing. Even if I try to reject it, no, it is still there. That niche, that little thing, that faith, that persistent faith that is going to keep going. It is a blessing, but it is an irritant as well. You keep wheedling away. And over time, the anger at what has happened in this week, or what continues to happen from week to week, subsides. And it is replaced And in between one sermon and the same text and the next, I start to find that my mourning has turned into dancing. That my anger, the fervent feeling of relationship, is changing slowly. And it's becoming again that kindled fire of immense love and that desire for God. The persistent faith embodied in church today. Thanks be to God. Amen.